What is happening?
I just felt like a Spinal Tap moment there for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I was like,
Turn the knobs to 11.
What is up, boys and girls? Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, thank you for joining us this evening. And as always, my partners in crime, Aaron and Ryan, are in his house.
Heidi ho.
Barnalicious and Edward in the house as well. So, how's things, boys?
Busy. I mean, stuff's rolling in the door every day.
That's a good thing. If you are not aware, those of you at home, Aaron is the man, the myth, the legend behind Texas Precision Performance. So if you are looking for a new third member for your differential, whether it's a street car or a race car, regardless of what size it is, 8-inch, 9-inch, 10.5, you name it, he's got it. He can help you out with it. So hit him up at texasprecisionperformance.com.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. So tell us then, you're so super busy because it's the off season. Everybody's getting all their stuff ready to go for the season. So what's in the shop right now? Anything exciting?
There's a 500 for a 10-inch setup for a no prep racer.
Oh, nice.
Those gears go for about $2,000 just for the gear itself, just the ring and pinion.
A 10-inch ring and pinion is $2,000.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you said it's a 5.0 gear?
It's a 5.0 gear, yeah.
Yeah.
What else we got in here? We got a couple of street setups, street posi 31 spline setups. We got a couple 40 spline spool setup, a 35 spline spool setup, and like 4 other complete builds that I'm doing for locals. So
nice. Very good.
Busy is good.
Yeah.
Busy is very good. Very good. I mean, I hope everybody's busy. I mean, it's because, when everybody's busy, that means everybody's making money, everybody's spending money, and, life is good. And you'll love this, Chad. Side topic. I talked to my buddy at Lindsay Racing Products, Chris Lindsay, if you know, and I just ordered new front wheels for the Cocaine Camaro.
Yay!
That they are going to be black chrome, but they're going to be engraved with cocaine on the spoke.
Oh, nice.
Yes, very nice.
I like it. And I am not typically a black wheels fan, but the black chrome is amazing. And on a white car like that, dude, come on. Yeah, I'm excited. What's the ETA for this thing being all updated and all those things? I mean, I know you're getting a lot of work done to it.
It's snowballed, and it's snowballed on me. I'm not gonna lie. It was supposed to be a simple, just pull out the old, mild steel cage and put the chromoly one in. And the last picture I got, there was no back half left in the car, and he was redoing all of that. And I just want it done right. I want it done good. And Bob Tynan in Race Cars is an amazing dude. I've seen his work in person. For those who don't know, he did Daddy Dave's Audi. That's who built that. I mean, he does amazing work. And I told him basically he had no time frame to get it done. I would like to get it in March, but at the same time, you can't rush perfection, and that's what Bob does. Right. So I'm just
and you're doing this like this is the last time. Like you don't want to have to ever do anything to this car again. Like this is it. You're getting the chassis set up that will be good forever, because it'll take you everywhere you ever want to take this car.
Well, I mean, it's still going to be an 850 cert car. It's not. It's never going to be a fast car by any means. It's a 6.0 car. In the 8th, the biggest thing is it's going to be safer. That's a big thing. The cage is, lack of a better term, hidden. So the A pillars are all tight to the A pillar. All those bars are, you don't see them like you did with the old cage that I put in there with my, 23-year-old buddies in a garage, South Tacoma. So, I mean, and all the 4-link and everything is remaining the same. We just cut new brackets and new bars out of chromoly. And so, because the car would hook anywhere. So it's just a matter of updating, safer, all that good stuff. And, getting rid of some of the cheesy stuff I did because I couldn't afford anything.
Right.
You know how that, you do it the best.
We all know how that works. Yeah.
I mean,
Raise your hand if you've done cheesy things because you had time but no money. Yeah.
Did some last week.
Oh God, we've all been there. So what have you been up to, Ryan? Anything exciting?
Oh, dude, it's been chaotic, and it's going to continue to be chaos until June 8th for me, I think. We've got the tailgate throwdown March 28th and 29th.
Yep.
That's been rocking and rolling, and we've got a lot of steam behind it this time that it had before, but it's 10 times as much right now.
Right.
Super excited about that. So I've been working on the artwork. I've been trying to get the artwork done for the shirts and the banners. I finally just had to give in, and I did it myself. It's one of those things where you can do it 1,000 times. You're never pleased with it, but I think it looks pretty good. So I dropped that stuff off yesterday, try to get the ball rolling on that. And then in the midst of that, we've been trying to get the truck shaken down really good, because we got into Rocky Mountain Race Week this year. And me and Jake have been putting a ton of miles on the truck, just putting it through the paces and making sure if it's going to have a failure, let's have it now. And I think we might have a possible failure that may or may not be catastrophic already. So I've got dude, we went out to Summit and bought some suspension stuff. I bought some Caltrax, some shocks and stuff so we could, make it better. And we drove the truck out there. I was like, let's drive the truck to pick up parts and drive it back. So it's about 165, 175 miles round trip.
Yeah. I was on the phone with you when you were in the parking lot. You were all excited. It got like 10 miles to the gallon or something.
Yeah. It was super exciting. They always say they run real good before something goes wrong.
Oh no.
And we got about 15 miles from home, and I started noticing a really bad vibration that I didn't notice before. And I kicked it into neutral just to see if it was, driveline related or something. And it went away immediately. And I put it back in gear. Engine RPM comes back, vibration comes back. So I got home, I just pulled it in the garage, said I'm not going to mess with it. Left it for 3-4 days, went to go fire it back up, and it's still got the vibration. So I did all the, but it felt like at partial throttle, it started running lean, like it was running lean. It wasn't running right. And I was like, that's weird. Wide open still feels pretty good, but it's just got a really bad vibration and it feels like almost a stumble. So I did the typical, just check the balancer, make sure the balancer was on, it hadn't spun, check the flex plate, make sure it didn't kick a counterweight or something off, something stupid. And it's all there. So I do the number 7 cylinder header tube looks, the paint, the ceramic coat that I put on it, it's burned off. So that cylinder looks like it's a little hot. And we popped the hood. We popped the hood in the shop.
7 and 8 are typically the two that are going to be that way. So, Yeah.
We popped the hood and there's oil sprayed all over the inner fender well, and the oil cap had a little puddle in it, and the breather is wet.
Oh no.
So I'm just going to assume that it was just a fluke deal because I don't have a PCV on it, and put a catch can on it and see what happens. And I'm going to let it run and get hot and see if it starts chooching.
Yeah.
And, but I might have nipped the ringland or something. I don't know. Something.
But you haven't sprayed it. You haven't done any of that yet.
No, I haven't sprayed it. I haven't done anything, but we had a little problem with getting a timing light to read on the thing, and we thought,
that's true.
Yeah. And I got it to read, I thought somewhat right, and I just kind of did the boom, boom. Sounds good.
Yeah.
And it's not pinging, so we're good. And it's not hard to start after this. That's good. Yeah. But something's a little off, so I got to figure that out. But so there, between the throwdown, between the truck, and then now I've got to get Jake. I was planning on getting the suspension stuff done this weekend and next weekend, and getting him back to making passes so we can go start making licensing runs so he can get licensed, so he can, because he's doing I'm not racing in Rocky Mountain. He's going to do the junior street deal. And so now I've got a lot of things to figure out in a short amount of time. So but we're
Did
good.
you pull?
Everything's
Man.
fine.
Did you pull a valve cover?
I have not pulled a valve cover or a plug out yet. I just saw the oil, saw it was coming from there, and I shut the hood and pretended like it didn't happen and walked away and started going to take apart the rear end.
Perfect.
Oh,
So
Ignore
just
it.
as a reminder, though, the tailgate throwdown is the 28th and 29th of March, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Newport Raceway, Newport, Arkansas. If you like truck racing, you need to be there because there are no trunks allowed. And this is a controversy that popped up this week. Somebody thought that it was okay to bring cars to a tailgate throwdown, which I don't know why you would even think that.
I
But-
thought that was hilarious when you had to post that up on Facebook.
Yeah, and I got messaged by a couple of people, and then somebody's like, "You might want to put a post up about it because I've heard there's some guys going to bring some cars." So I made the post that, contrary to belief, you can bring a car to the throwdown, but it will be parked in the spectator side. It will not make it pass down the track because it is a truck only event. So
and not just and a truck only, not wagons, trucks only.
Trucks only, no wagons.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody's like, "Why don't you just call it a truck throwdown?" I said, "Because it's not your race. It's my race. I called it a tailgate throwdown."
Right.
Yeah.
That's why.
And all the classes.
El Caminos are welcome, right?
El Caminos are welcome. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's kind of a truck.
Yeah. Hey, it's good enough for who it's for. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
I will say as a reminder, folks, you've got a couple weeks left to register for the Hot Lap Challenge in Louisiana. You can see that on the front page of Bang Shift if you want to register for that as well. But let's get into it tonight. We have some funny subjects tonight. And the first one, it's not our big topic, but I think it's the one we have to start off with, which is Donal Long, a hammer, and the end of his ding ding. Yeah. He done stepped on his ding ding by saying if Kye Kelley can beat Stevie Fast, somebody can hit the end of my ding ding with a hammer. Mostly because Donald's an idiot. I'll say it out loud.
He's a big dumb dipshit. He is. He's a hell of a promoter, but he's a big dumb dipshit. Yes,
he is the king of clickbait. Like in the dictionary, clickbait. He's one of the photos, there. But he is really good at stirring the pot.
This is the second time that he's gone after Kye, and Kye doesn't take the bait. He doesn't. I give Kye all credit.
No, Kye is too mellow.
But you remember Kye won the last race, and Donald was like, "There's no way a Cheeto eating motherfucker is going to win this race."
Right.
And that Cheeto eating, sorry, language.
Yeah.
He won the race with steel roof and quarters.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody can say whatever they want to say about no prep kings and the street racing and all that. I've been on set. The street races, they're real. They're not scripted.
Yeah.
It's literally camera in the face as soon as they get out of the car. These guys know how to drive a fast car. Now you put them on a prep surface, and if they have the power, they have the skill.
Yeah,
I would say at least 50% of them.
Right. Well, and I talked to a couple of my buddies who run pro mod cars and who were there. And the overwhelming response to Kye in the first race win that he had, what was that? A few weeks ago now. Kye, everybody made a big deal of steel roof and quarters. Like everybody's making a big deal out of that. And the reality is the weight of that isn't the thing. The thing is the wheelbase of the car, a little bit of the shape of it, because quite frankly, any of the other cars that, the quarter panels are raised, like if it was a 69 Camaro or a third gen like he drives, and it had a pro mod body, the quarter panels would be raised up. And the quarter panels would be raised up to clear tire, but also to make the rear deck lid more of a wing, right? The more of a spoiler. So
most of those are 7/8 scale, aren't they, Chad?
Yes, that's it. Most of them are a 7/8 scale car. Now, the third gen Camaro is already a smaller car than some of those were. But the big deal is the wheelbase. And that's the thing that, I was talking about with some of these guys is the wheelbase. And, and a couple of them said, yeah, you know what, in theory, once the front end's in the air, it's all the same, right? Is what everybody, wants to say. But the other part of it is that wheelbase gives you a bigger lever arm, right? It's wide. Top fuel dragsters have a 300-inch wheelbase. And they didn't stop at 300 because they didn't want to go longer. They stopped at 300 because that's when NHRA went, no more, right? Or they'd be 350 inches long, right? So, when you think about it, if this is the back tire and you have, and it's only this long with weight on the, tip of my fingers, it's going to push down a certain amount on those back tires. Well, if it's longer, the same amount of weight pushes down harder. Or if it is longer, you are able to then move the weight around better to control how the load is on those rear tires, etc. So there's a lot more going on, but we saw him win. He did great. Killer on the tree, outrunning guys, everything else. And so when it came time to go up against Stevie Fast in the first round, Kye knew what he had to do, and he cut a light and outran him, front end in the air the whole way down the racetrack. And yeah.
And the only thing that got gapped was the end of Donal Long's.
Yes, dude, because he was out there just bragging on Stevie, and Stevie's his boy. Don't get me wrong, and Stevie's great. But dude, it's a drag race. Anybody can win. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. And so the reality is, it was still typical Donal Long. Got everybody talking. There's been all kinds of stuff going back and forth with cardboard cutouts of them and Cheetos and toys and all kinds of junk that we won't get into because some of it we can't even say. I saw some pictures that could not go on social about it, which was pretty funny. But I got to tell you, like I'm tired of Donald's crap. It just doesn't do anything for me anymore. I'm over it. What do you guys think? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you not care? Do you just admire him for being a badass?
I am over Donal Long. It's like it's like drinking a beer, and at first when it's cold, it's nice, it's different, it feels good inside. And then but then you set it down, you go flip the burgers, and it's sitting in the sunlight, and it gets a little warm, and it gets a little shitty, and you just kind of throw it out. I think that's kind of where we're at with that whole deal.
I like it. What do you think? What do you say, Aaron?
I think he's just a little bit too much over the top. I mean, I give him kudos. He's a great promoter. He's a great promoter, and he puts fans in the stands and lights out, no mercy, and all those races they've set. They've had packed the house of South Georgia, but just you don't need to be the Jerry Springer of putting on races.
Right.
Take it back a notch. I mean, he's literally the Jerry Springer of putting on races.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're watching because you're waiting. It's like NASCAR. You're waiting for the wreck. It's just it's going to turn into a car wreck. Last 3 laps, it's somebody's going in the wall. And not saying that he has wrecks at his races, but it's just his persona is just overwhelmingly annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, agree 110%. I think but having a guy like that is necessary though, because, and this is where I go back and forth on it, right? Because I feel like that if you have a guy like that, it's great for the hype, but then like anything else, it loses its luster. And if that guy continues to be that person, then there's room for other people to come in behind him. They're like, hey, if you don't like all the BS, you don't want all the hype, come race with us. Come do this over here.
Oh, you mean West Buck?
Yeah.
and which is funny because that's a hilarious deal too, because when you compare Donal Long to Wes Buck, like, I mean, you said Donal Long is the circus act, in comparison, right? But if you didn't have Donal Long to set the bar way up here for crazy, then you would think of Wes as another one of those, woo, huge hype guys. But he is so mellow compared
Yeah.
to Donald Long. It's hilarious.
Oh no!
Oh yeah,
it's
cracks
the
me up.
slow lane and fast lane right there. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean,
100%.
kudos to Kye. I mean, he got the job done.
Absolutely.
Hey, once again, I think that it when it comes to racing, do you want a guy who's only used to racing down glue down patches, or do you want somebody who's used to racing on any surface you can put them on? And that's where guys like Donal Long underestimate no prep guys. He underestimates street guys, because you may race on 10 different surfaces in one night if you're a street guy. And then that gives you all the data you need to go down any back of the track, crappy asphalt track, whatever it may be. And that helps you get down each and every time. And then you go put a guy like that on a sticky surface. What do you think is going to happen? He is going to outdrive you, and he is going to outuse the concrete that he is riding on, period.
Yeah.
It's probably a boring ride for him, to tell you the truth.
Probably.
Right? It's a little straight.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to our next one. This one's the bigger deal. And I think that, so Aaron sent me a message earlier and said, here's some talking points I think we should talk about. And it's funny because we think so much alike. So the Donald, the Stevie and Kye deal was on the top of the list. But another one that he brought up, and that is really going to be our probably big topic tonight. He was coming at it from a different angle than I was. And so let me explain a little bit here. So NHRA made an announcement today that they are now doing a regular season bonus as part of their, and they are very, very, very vocal about this, $25 million overall purse. Okay. So they are if you're not familiar with NHRA, Mission Drag Racing Series, AKA the Big Show is what we all call it. That series is the professional categories, right? So it's Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock, and Pro Stock Motorcycle. Pro Modified is not in that category. It is not a pro category. NHRA treats them like redheaded stepchildren because they suck. So that's a whole other thing. But the regular 4 pro categories have a total of a $25 million purse for the entire season. There's a 20 race schedule. And the thing that they added today is a way to pay the drivers even more, because the normal season, the regular season runs through, and then they get to a point where they go into the countdown. The countdown is for the top, I believe it's the top 10 in points. Yeah. At the end of the regular season, everybody else is then out. Nobody else can move up and win the championship. It's only those people that are in the top 10. So what they have changed this year is that they have added an additional $400,000 for bonuses, and that is going to be paid to the regular season champion in Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock, and Pro Stock Motorcycle, which then all is added up to equal that $25 million. So I have some thoughts on this, but I want your thoughts first. Who wants to go first, Ryan or Aaron? Who wants to tackle this one?
Go for it, Aaron.
All right, let's see, because I have some things and I want to hear what you have to say first.
So they're giving a bonus to basically the regular season top of points earners, but there's no mention of increasing purses for any of the sportsman categories at national events or divisional events. That $400,000 could go a long ways towards the sportsman racer.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little story. Okay. And this is why it shock and awes me. I'm not going to say who it is or who the sponsor is, but I have a friend, races Top Sportsman, and he gets paid by his sponsor $200 per round win.
Okay.
He happened to win the Stampede of Speed here in Texas.
Okay.
In Top Sportsman. He got a check for, I believe it was $1,200 from NHRA for winning Top Sportsman. Now, there's a Stampede of Speed because Jake's All-Stars was here and everything else. That was a 7-round race.
Yeah. So he got paid more money by his sponsor
than he got paid by NHRA
for winning.
Yes.
And let me just add one little tidbit there. For those of you that are not aware, Top Sportsman, 90% of the cars that race in Top Sportsman to most people would look like they were a pro mod. Okay. A Top Sportsman is the quickest door cars on the property that are not pro mods in most cases. So these are fast door cars.
Some of them are faster than pro stock.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yes. Lots of them. Yeah.
And so your buddy, did he tell you what he got paid out on that race?
He got paid $1,200 from NHRA. He got $1,400 from his sponsor.
Okay.
Did he tell you what his contingencies were at all? Because that's pennies nowadays too.
He doesn't do the contingency thing because it's not worth it anymore. So he doesn't like stickers on his car besides the sponsor that's on his door. So it's like you kind of look at it and go, NHRA's padding the big show, but they're not helping the guys that pay their licensing fees and everything else to get into the race. I mean, to get into a national event now, by the time you pay for your entry, the insurance cost, the your crew guy, so you have one crew guy to get in as well. I mean, that was probably $400 in itself.
Yeah.
Crew pass and then the entry. So what do you really get back? I think NHRA
nothing to help his program.
No, and people that race this, they're not necessarily looking to get rich doing it, but at the same time, this is why you're seeing a bunch of guys bail out of NHRA sportsman racing, because if the Wally doesn't mean much to them, then basically they're just going to go to I mean, there's a 777 series that happens in Iowa. I forget who puts it on. I know his name. He's a friend of mine, but it escapes me. But you can race for $7,000 for 3 different days.
Yeah.
$250 for the entry. $7,000 per day. I mean,
dude, it's only like $700 to race in the Spring Fling Million, not in the Million Day, not in Friday's big race. That one's like $2,500. But the other 5 days or 4 days, the other 4 races for like $700, you're in on those, and they're $50,000 a day to win or whatever. Like, that's awesome, And, it used to be that if you won an NHRA national event as a sportsman, contingencies were typically in the $8,000 to $15,000 range. They are not anymore at all.
Companies are either paying direct now, because in order to be an NHRA sponsor of an event, you have to pay $1,000 fee just to be a sponsor. That just goes to the NHRA general fund. Yeah. And if you don't pay, and my data is a little old, so it might have been updated. This is probably about 5 years ago. But when I looked into it, it basically, if I didn't pay out, if I obligated, I was going to cover these races, this classes to win or runner up as a contingency sponsor, it equated to $3,500. Now, if I did not pay out $3,500 by the end of the year, I had to cut a check for the difference that went to NHRA general fund.
Yes.
That's not right. If my product didn't win, my product didn't win.
Right. But they're getting their money regardless. And here's my take on this whole deal too. I think that one of the big problems with this is, I mean, anybody else see the fact that you're going to pay the guy that's already in the lead going into the countdown more money.
Yeah.
That isn't helping anybody out. that Torrance, if Torrance is in the lead or whoever the hell it is, like, I mean, that's not going to do anything for anybody else below them. Like, not going to do it. I mean, it's just not. And so here's the problem. You're just paying more money to that guy who, you know, maybe they need it, maybe they don't. Their definition of needing it and my definition of needing it are two different things. Let me put it to you that way. And here's the other part. Here, let me go all the way around. You think this has anything to do with IHRA's big announcements on how much money they're going to give away this year?
Oh,
maybe.
for sure. But
yeah, right? Because NHRA is like, oh, holy crap, these guys are talking about giving away big money. And so I have a feeling that one of the things that they're going to do, or one of the things that they are doing, is they are trying to make it so that guys will be enticed to not go race IHRA and instead just do NHRA, because they think these guys are somehow going to go, oh man, 400 grand more. I could get a piece of that. Like, you're not going to get a piece of that, or you're not going to get very much out of it anyway.
Well, here's one thing that we missed though, Chad. The other thing is that if you know that you're locked into the countdown, say 4 races out from the countdown starting, you go into test mode. You start trying things. And so you're not trying to be in the necessarily the points lead. You're not trying to lose ground, but you're trying new stuff and for the countdown. And I think NHRA is trying to keep the competition close through the last 4 weeks or 4 races before the countdown is the other reason I look at this. I don't see it working. I think they're just giving money away. What do you think, Ryan?
I don't really have much to say about the NHRA. I look at it from a totally different perspective. And when it comes to Top Fuel, Top Fuel Funny Car, Top Fuel Dragster, all that kind of stuff, that stuff is great. It's awesome to watch once. You know, the grassroots racers that built the NHRA are getting left behind, and that is no surprise, because it's been the MO of the NHRA for the last 25 years. And they continually make decisions in order to compete with another entity. And quite frankly, I feel like both entities lose sight of what's important. And what's important is the kids that want to go race, the guys that have kids, they want to go race, but they can't afford to do that without getting something in return. And when people go, well, why is the NHRA dying? Well, it's because guys are going to outlaw tracks. They're going to no prep. They switch into no prep. They're doing these things because they're getting paid more. I mean, your buddy made pennies on the dollar in a major race when they pay out more in Nakona on a Saturday shootout, and you 14 cars and you're paying out more.
Right.
Yep.
It's just I mean, it's clear and obvious. So, you know, it's sickening. It's sad to watch, but you know, if they continue on this path, it's kind of like NASCAR. It's kind of like everything else. It's completely separated itself from what it was, and not a lot of people care anymore. They're kind of getting to the point where they don't care.
I mean, the problem
for people that aren't. Oh, go ahead, Aaron.
You're talking about people like in Top Sportsman, Top Dragster. I mean, you got $50,000-$75,000 in your engine.
Yeah.
And you're paying out that. I mean, it's
that won't replace a set of rocker arms. I mean, it's you know, and I get it, man. It's hard to race for a living. I totally understand that. I have a friend of mine that races pro stock and pro mod bike, and he has since I was a kid. And he is a one-man show, and he does it all out of his 2-car garage, and he has his entire life. And it's just a damn shame to see somebody who is as good as he is at what he does, who puts in the effort that he puts in to put on a good race. He's always in the top 3. I mean, the guy is a phenomenal motorcycle racer, and he still works at Chevrolet House. He's worked there for 40 years doing diagnostics. and he drives the same Chevrolet truck he had when I was a kid. I had like a 92 Z71 single cab step side. You know, now he lives that way so he can afford to make his bikes fast. And it's just a damn shame that it hadn't paid off for him after all these years. You know, it's you see guys like Kye Kelley. Let's just use Kye Kelley as an example. The guy was a street guy. He had a beat up ex Pro Mod car that he turned into a street car or back half car. I don't even know what that thing was originally. It was probably 10 different things before it ever ended up the way it was. But I mean, he fought the street crap and getting that, you know, those 5s and 10s and $20 bills to get where he's at. And, you know, that's the kind of celebrated life you want to see somebody racing. These guys they're upper echelon. I mean, it's like watching the NFL. It's just, it's just, who gives a shit, really. And that's what it's come down to. And it sucks.
Well, and for those of you that are watching that aren't familiar with the whole countdown setup, let me show you this here so you guys can understand, because otherwise it sounds confusing. It is not, but it sounds that way. So here's how the countdown works. So the countdown starts after the U.S. Nationals. So they run all the way through the U.S. Nationals, and then the remainder of the events only count for the countdown. And the way that it works is whatever number of points they have before they start the countdown, it doesn't matter what the actual number is, because for the start of the countdown, whoever was in first place will be reset at 2,100 points. So they're not given 2,100 extra points. They are just whatever their number is on the day after the U.S. Nationals, it becomes 2,100. And you'll notice the second place is 2080, third is 2070. So first place gets a 10-point bonus for being in first place. Second place and through the rest are only 10 points apart. So again, if you're not familiar, a round win in NHRA, Big Show drag racing is 10 points. So that's one round. So the, and there's, if you set a national record, and your number one qualifier and all those things have other little bonus points, right? So it all matters. But, I wonder, I really do wonder how much the IHRA, has been talked about over there at NHRA headquarters. And we might as well talk about that a little bit too, but that the IHRA deal, we talked about it early on and what was going to happen, kind of close to what was going on there. Kenny Nolling got booted out of that deal. Wasn't really a big surprise to a lot of people. But before he did, and since, IHRA has been saying that they're going to spend real money, that they're putting out real purses, big events. They have a lot of big names in drag racing that are part of the staff over there now, and they're trying to put together a really pro team and building a cool museum and all kinds of stuff. But again, they were really vocal about the fact that they had tons of money to spend and they were willing to spend it. So they were talking about huge purses, totally different than you've ever seen, and looking to set records for how much people are going to win. I got to think that the guys at NHRA were sitting around mulling that over at least a little bit, right? I mean, you have to be, don't you think?
You got to pay attention to your competition, and NHRA hasn't had competition for a number of years from IHRA. So, correct. I mean, it's one of those things where it's been in turmoil for decades. I would say IHRA has.
Yeah. Yep.
Ever since they got sold to the investment group or whatever it was IRG or whatever that bought them. But it has a bright future. Will it come to fruition? Who knows? But I'm with that. I think that they got NHRA taking a self-look in the mirror going, we've got to combat this. Because if they pull this off and they've got some big names behind them, NHRA's in trouble.
Right.
Sleeping giant. You know,
Well,
the minute you think you got it in the bag, and somebody comes along and spoils the plan. So,
well, and I think that IHRA has been all about the sportsman drag racer for the last several years, and I believe that all this new hype that came about when Kenny got over there and everything scared the sportsman racers. And I don't know why they thought things would drastically change for them, because they weren't changing it toward the negative at all. If anything, it was just more money going to get thrown at them, which was already a ton. So I wasn't really sure, why that was. But again, typically sportsman drag racing has been the thing for IHRA for a number of years, right? They haven't run a top fuel program or any of that. Obviously they're bringing that stuff back this year. But the biggest criticism of the NHRA for years has been their treatment of sportsman drag racers. And every time you think that they make a little headway and do something that makes you feel like, oh, they're actually listening, then they take a few steps back, and their image with the sportsman racers just is not good. And you mentioned earlier, Aaron, the Wally, right? I'll be honest with you, if a Wally wasn't so cherished, I don't think NHRA sportsman drag racing would be half the size it is. It is unbelievable to me what people will do for a trophy. And when I say that, I grew up as an NHRA racer. I like NHRA races. I am critical of several things that they do, but dude, to win a Wally and put that on the shelf, that's a big deal. I mean, I don't care. That's a big deal. But is it a big enough deal to just race NHRA divisionals instead of going big money bracket racing that's considerably cheaper? I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
no.
There's a Wally. There's a Wally.
Yep.
There's an Ironman.
Yeah, true.
So, I mean, I've raced both, and I can tell you the experience back in the day of racing what they call them, a nitro jam or something like that, or I forget what they call them. But I mean, it was kind of a surreal experience, because they've got like strobe lights on, and when you're pulling into the burnout box and all this stuff, and it
was like Monday Night Raw.
It basically was. Yeah. And it was kind of a circus. It was. But at the same time, it was all about the race. I mean, it was all about the fanfare and everything else. I mean, I can see, and I don't know for a fact or anything like this, but I can see guys like Scott Palmer, maybe Clay Milliken,
right,
going back to IHRA. I mean, I can see that happening. I mean, for sure.
Well, and it's entirely possible that you see that happen, because it wouldn't be that big of a deal for them to go and do that, at a couple of these rates, because there's only going to be a handful of them, right? So if it falls right with regards to the rest of their NHRA schedule, and they could go and possibly win $100,000 or $200,000 or more to go race one weekend, Clay Milliken would be an idiot not to go out there and try. Palmer would be an idiot not to go out there and try, right? I mean, that's real money for these guys, especially somebody like Scotty Palmer that doesn't owe a penny to anybody, Well,
that's what I was going to say. Scotty Palmer doesn't give a shit. I mean, he's just, he loves horsepower. He loves race cars. I mean, you and I have hung out with him at Outlaw again.
Yes.
I mean, it's I mean, he's fun. He's all about fun.
He is. I've known Scotty for years, and he's always been the way he is today. And he is just a great guy. And I talk to him not as often as I'd like, but we talk still, pretty regularly. And he is one of those dudes that, he wants to have a good time. And if he's not having a good time, he's not going to do it anymore, So I think it's a big deal. As Barnes says, it's a 10 race schedule for Nitro Jam. for IHRA. So that's going to be a big deal. And if you missed it, Alan Reinhart, one of the voices of NHRA drag racing for many years, has been named as the IHRA Vice President of Competition. And so he's going to be working. He's going to be announcing the races. The last I saw, he is going to be the lead announcer, but he's also going to be working with the rest of the team on schedules and rules and all of the packages that go into the actual race itself. And I wish him luck. I think it's great. Wickham has a good question. He says, but would NHRA say you can only compete at their events? They have tried that in the past. And with marginal success.
They tried to make it so you had to have an NHRA chassis cert. You had to have an NHRA license. They wouldn't accept the IHRA cert or license.
Right.
But IHRA has always had open door policy that basically if you have another sanctioning body's cert or license, come race with us.
The way it should be.
But one of the things that NHRA did years ago, and they used the excuse of expenses, but you'll remember that they limited testing. You remember that? They limited to all the pro teams to a certain number of test days, and they counted racing in another sanctioning body as test days. So I don't remember the exact deal. So bear with me. I'm going to use a little bit of creative license here. But I believe it was something like you could only have 3 or 4 test days. So that meant that if you raced in one IHRA national event, you had used all your test days, or 2 or whatever. And so I know that back then Clay and several other guys that were trying to race in both were not able to do so. And I could be speaking out of turn, but I'm pretty sure that was one of the reasons why Clay Milliken didn't come to NHRA and race for full seasons until way later, was because he was running for a championship and winning championships in IHRA, and that put him over the test limit number, so he couldn't run for points at NHRA, so he was just hitting random events, back then. So, yeah, something along those lines.
I wonder if that rule is still in effect.
Let's look. We have the Google machine. I'm going to look. So, NHRA... Okay, so let's see here. I don't know. I don't see it, but I'm sure that this is it's not coming up as an instant, when I do NHRA Top Fuel testing. Yeah, it keeps coming up with like licensing stuff and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. If anybody else that's watching knows, let us know, because need to do some more checking on this. I don't know if they still do that or if they got rid of that a few years ago.
Let me ask you this. What do you think the biggest challenge? Okay, so obviously in order to keep the NHRA or the IHRA alive, right, you need racers first, right?
Yep.
And then you need the fans next, right?
Yep.
So I don't know if they put anything out about it. I don't know. I don't keep up with it. So I don't know if they've put out what their attendance was, but I know that for a few years there, especially with no Prep Kings, attendance was dwindling at national events, right?
Right.
I don't know if that's still a trend, but I'm curious because I feel like that one of the things that everyone loses focus on, because the NHRA and the IHRA has become so big and it's so broad as far as like, I mean, hell, just me trying to figure out what I needed to do for Jake's licensing. I ended up just throwing in the towel and calling a rep and sitting on the phone with him and got the straight shot answers that I needed to get it done. And, for the average Joe, right, they look at that and it's just cumbersome, and I think that, so you make it harder to achieve, which makes it more cumbersome for the average Joe. Then you cater to the guys that already are deep pockets, right? And you don't help the average racer. And then your seats start to appear empty because why? Why do you think that it is that the seats start to become empty at a national event?
Well, so I mean, I grew up, going to NHRA national events. I grew up in Northern California. Fremont Drag Strip became Baylands. We had the Golden Gate Nationals there as a kid, and so and I would go to Pomona as well. Not all the time. We didn't have the money all the time, but we went. That's what we grew up doing, and I loved NHRA national events, and Wickham earlier said, something about it makes you think that sportsman classes are just a filler between the pro classes to try to keep people in their seats. And Wickham, you're 100% wrong. But I'll explain that in a minute. But when I was a kid, it was packed every minute at a national event. It was insane. 10 deep at the fence, like unreal. And I think there are two things that impacted that for NHRA drag racing. One thing is the tickets are ungodly expensive, and like everything else in this world, we're all broke, right? Because wages in this country have not kept up with everything else. They just haven't, right? I'm a guy that in my former career made a lot of money. I was a $125 to $150 an hour guy. That's real money. Should have stayed in that, by the way, because this doesn't do that. This is dumb. But anyway, that was real money then. And don't get me wrong, $125, $150 an hour, I would love to still make today, but it's not the same as it was then for that, right? I remember the first time I made $50 an hour, and that was like, oh my God, money. And $50 an hour is still good on paper nowadays, but in reality, everything is so much more expensive. So, I've said for a long time, when you take your family to the races, and you're a perfect example of this, Ryan, right? Ryan, wife and 2 kids. When you go to the races or any event of any kind, you have in your mind, even if you haven't discussed a number, you have a number in your head of what you're willing to spend for the weekend, right? Like, or for the day. You're, in your mind, you're like, man, okay, I'm willing to spend $300 today. Yep. And I've always said that you'll spend that $300 regardless. So if the tickets were $75 a piece, you blown your wad, you're not buying food or shirts or any of that. If the tickets are $10 a piece, you're going to buy shirts and turkey legs and beer and all the things because you've already budgeted that amount of money. Well, if you can't budget enough money to go to an NHRA national event because it's $100 to get in and it's $25 for a hot dog and whatever, then you're just not going, right? Because it isn't like it used to be where you could go and sit at the far end of the racetrack for $10, and the expensive seats were the top eliminator club right there at the starting line. Like that doesn't happen anymore. It's not like a baseball game where you can, and I haven't been to a baseball game in several years, but where you can buy a $10 ticket or a $15 ticket or whatever to
nosebleed.
Go sit. Yeah, nosebleed seats, right? Yeah. I remember we used to go to Rangers games. I used to take my team to Rangers games, and I could buy Rangers games tickets to sit literally at the top of the stadium, the very, 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 very top, for like
bird's eye view
$4 a person. I swear to God. And that wasn't 50 years ago. That was 20 years ago. Okay.
Right.
And so those kinds of things. So the money has gotten insane. Like Cole says, hell, baseball tickets are $50 a piece now. There you go.
Yep.
There you go. And it's ridiculous, right? And so
So
that's
price.
a big hit for people. Price is a big deal. But
What's the other thing?
thing is, in my opinion, NHRA drag racing has they have painted themselves into a corner with regards to their superstars, right? And instead of letting anybody that can be a star, they want John Force and John Force only, right? Or insert whatever name here. But the reality is a half dozen guys get all the attention and everybody else is like not pushed by NHRA. And that's unfortunate because if you look at it, let the stars be the stars. There's so many great personalities. Let the rivalries happen. All that stuff is great.
Yeah. No, I agree. But you were really close to what I was going to say. All right. So check this out. Yeah. 100% on what you said on cost and 100% on what they focus on. What is the key component that's missing for me is when you think back to the heyday of the NHRA when it was thriving, when you were talking about 12 people stacked on the fence. I was watching some video from 1971 the other night of one of the national events, there were literally people everywhere. Okay.
Oh yeah.
You watch one now, and there are people there. The stands are pretty full, but they are nothing like they once were. And if you think about, okay, from the aspect of the person who pays to go through the gate to watch this go down, what entices you to go there? Well, fast cars, obviously, if you're into cars, fast cars. But the other thing is the rivalries.
Yes.
Okay. You had rivalries in just about every genre of racing or every class of racing, and they were real. And everybody wanted to see Ronnie Sox line up with Grumpy Jenkins. Everybody wanted to see Don the Snake Perdome and Ed McEwen. And if the guy from Florida showed up, everybody wanted to see all those guys shaking their boots, right?
Yeah.
And so, but everybody knew Don the Snake Perdome. Everybody knew these guys' names. They were spoke about often. Right now, in any racing, what is everybody paying attention to? Guys like Kye Kelley coming out from, and that's why
the underdog,
the US Nationals,
the underdog. Even if he really isn't an underdog, everybody thinks he is, and that's all that matters.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But he has literally, you could watch his career over the span of the last 7 years go from nobody that hopped on a TV show and beat the baddest guys in the street and continue to do it, and then just worked his way up the rank. And now the biggest thing everybody's talking about is Stevie Fast Jackson and Kye Kelley.
Yeah.
And that is what drag racing is missing. There is none of that right now.
Not in NHRA. You are right.
Not in NHRA.
And I'll tell you, in 2007, 8, I don't remember now. Horrible. I was announcing on the starting line at Pomona for NHRA, and I was the Jumbotron guy, right? So I was doing interviews and stuff that were showing up on the Jumbotron, and it was awesome, right? Like I was thrilled to death to be there, because they hired me to do what I do, and then I got there and they didn't want me to do what I want to do. So I wasn't really keen on doing it. But one of the big things that really told me the story and made me step away and say, you know what, I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm out, is that I had Kenny Koretsky, Alan Johnson, and Warren Johnson on the starting line at Pomona. Okay. Now, Kenny Koretsky is a jillionaire, right? Nitro Fish, all the things, right? Pro stock racer, all those things. At this point, he was not racing pro stock. He had stepped out of the car and was doing the ownership role and owned a Top Fuel team and pro stock and all the things. And he is standing there in a sport coat that probably cost $1,000 and, loafers and whatever shoes, blah, blah, blah. WJ is standing there in normal WJ trim, meaning, he's wearing black pants, shoes, and a Warren Johnson, polo shirt. or probably GM Performance or something. And then there was Alan Johnson. And anybody that knew Alan Johnson, he drove the Amoco Pro Stock Cars Forever, and a total character. All three of these guys, total characters, totally different characters, but total characters. Okay. And enough so that I got the three of them together, and Kenny and Alan especially are dropping F-bombs and laughing and having a great time. And I'm like, okay, you assholes, you need to calm down, because here in like 38 seconds when they go to me, you can't swear. We're live on the big screen and all that, which they knew, and they're good about it. But of course, they're razzing me, right? And literally, I have an earbud in this side and an earbud in this side that are to two different people, right? So one ear is the producer, one ear is the race direction, whatever. So they are in my ear going, who do you have? And I'm going, I've got, WJ, Alan Johnson, and Kenny Koretsky. They're lined up. We're ready. We're right here on the starting line. And they said no. They said, no, find somebody else. Find somebody else. And I'm not going to say who they told me to get, because I don't want to make it ugly, because there are people that would make it ugly, and this is not their fault. These drivers that they told me to go to, well, not all of them, but some of them are great guys. But they didn't. It was at that point that I really realized, if it wasn't the John Force show and a couple other token people, then they weren't interested. And that was literally that moment, like right there. That day, my energy level went down 20% right there. And throughout the rest of it, it just continued. And again, I told them, hey man, I appreciate it, but no, thank you. I'm out, And
that's the thing, that at the end of the day, drag racing, whether it be at your local 8th mile track or your big quarter-mile track, whatever, it is entertainment, right?
It is.
And the entertainment factor is what keeps people glued. And if you don't have some good rivalries to entice people to go, man, I really want to go see Kye Kelley smack the hell out of Stevie Fast Jackson, right?
Right.
They'll go pay that $60 to go through the gate to see that. Right.
Absolutely.
But when it's like, when I look at Clay Milliken, super nice guy. He looks like the nicest guy in the world. Right. I would love to go see him I'd love to go watch him drive a race car, but I would love to go watch him drive a race car against a guy who's been a complete asshole. Smack for the past month and a half about how he was just going to beat his in the dirt.
Yeah.
And there's none of that.
And I can tell you, like,
it's
no, I'm with you. And I can tell you that Clay Milliken is one of the genuinely, he's the funniest, goofiest, everything you think when you see him on a video or whatever, that is 100% him, just like Scotty. They are totally normal. And you know what makes them great is they are like not all, the famous people that I know and love are the ones that don't act like they're any different than anybody else, right? And I mean,
you didn't know who Clay Milliken was, you wouldn't know him.
No, and Clay will be at SEMA standing. Like, I mean, this sounds funny, but literally a couple of years ago, me and Clay are standing in the McLeod booth at SEMA, and I'm standing there and I'm talking to a couple of guys at McLeod, and here comes Clay, and we're at a table, and he comes around the other side of the table, and he's like, hey. And we're like, hey, what are you doing? Give him a hug and everything. We're all talking and we're just shooting the shit. These guys that were sitting there at McLeod knew who he was, obviously, but we're not, friends with him, right? So we're doing introductions and whatever. And Krista is, Baldwin is sitting there also talking to him. Obviously, they race against each other and all those things. And so we're talking, and literally Clay and I are sitting there. And one of the guys from FTI, which is a transmission company that is owned by McLeod now, is standing there. And in front of him on this table is this giant billet aluminum transfer case, like for a monster truck is what it looks like. One of those big, giant drop down transfer cases, right? And Clay goes, so tell me about this thing. Right.
Yeah.
And And he's like, I don't even, what the hell is this? You know? And the guy starts explaining, and I'm like, for a monster truck or something, right? And he goes, well, actually, they're aimed at these mud trucks and this and that, but yeah, they'd live in a monster truck too, and you know, whatever. And so we're talking about it, and we're sitting there. Literally, Clay is like, so how does it work? What's in there? And the guy's showing pictures and drawings, and he's showing stuff on his phone that isn't for the public to see, but it's us. So he's, you know, showing stuff, and it's like super cool, right? And there are people that are walking by that hear Clay's voice because, like me, he's got a distinct voice, right? So they're turning and stuff, and then people start waiting, right? They're waiting because they are being polite because Clay is, you know, having a conversation. And we're sitting there and we're shooting the shit. And I go, I'm literally about to say, okay, I'm going to leave you alone because you have fans over here, you know? And Clay says, I better go sign some autographs and stuff because these people are waiting like this. These people care because they're waiting, you know? And I mean, he says it right then. And he walks over, and I actually go with him, and I grab phones from people. And for like 5 or 10 minutes, dude, I'll bet we took 50 photos, right? And I just stood there taking pictures for people. I'm like, give me your phone. And I'm hammering photos and handing them off. And the guys are running, you know, and he's signing stuff. And just as nice as can be. Him and Jeff Lutz are complete idiots together, which is great. They're the guy. I was shooting photos at SEMA this year, and I'm walking through the Toyo display, which is this fancy schmancy area at SEMA. And literally, like, somebody just runs into me. And like they run into me, and then I get hit again. And I'm like, what the? And I start to turn around, and another dude I know is in front of me, and he sees this, and he looks at my face, and I'm like, I'm pissed, right? And I turn around. It's Lutz and Clay. Okay. And they've just double teamed hitting me, and they're laughing like 12-year-old girls, right? And I'm like, you dicks, you know, they're like, you should have seen the look on their face. And Clay's like, looks at Jeff and goes, man, I wasn't sure Chad would hit somebody, but I'm pretty sure he was ready to hit us. You know, and we're laughing. He's like, I was getting out of the way. Lutz is like, I'm not fast as you are, you know? And I mean, they're just goofy and fun, and it was awesome. So yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
It was really good. So
to Ryan's point, though, what racing needs is more rivalries.
Yes,
that's and not just drag racing.
No,
I mean, NASCAR's been lacking ever since NASCAR lost 3. It's been lost. You know,
yes, 100%.
So I mean, you need. I think John Force should never drive a funny car again. My personal opinion, but that's my personal opinion.
He shouldn't have been driving a funny car for the last 10 years.
Is he going to drive again?
No, I don't.
From what I understand, I don't think so either. But I mean, the closest thing that you have somebody that will maybe talk a little smack and top fuel is the Capco boys. You know,
yes. Absolutely. And it used to be that you had all these great, like Al Hoffman and you know, and all those guys that used to talk so much smack to Force. Those were the best back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You guys keep talking.
It's. I mean, you go back to the days of. I mean, and I'm not a huge WJ fan or Glidden, but I mean, you go back to the days of the dry hops and the burn downs and all that stuff, and I mean that was racing. That was racing back then. That was personalities. And what we're lacking is we're trying to put this PG-13 product out there in a world that's rated R at this point. We need to go back to fist fights between crews and Ford versus Chevy and Dodge and everything else. You've taken the brands out of it. I mean, really, 100%. Toyota. I mean, come on. I mean, there's nothing Toyota that I would ever own personally. Okay, there's only one import car besides German imports that I would own, and that would be a GTR because they're just fucking badass. Right.
They are.
I mean, everything else that Nissan makes is shit, but a GTR is badass.
And it's funny though that you say it because it used to be the win on Sunday, sell on Monday was the deal, right? And I know there's still some of that, but yeah, the rivalries were multifaceted back then because you would have a rivalry of 2 drivers, But man, if they raced for competing brands, one was Ford, one was Chevrolet, oh, it just amped it up. And I would even say if they raced for the same brand, then they were getting told to calm down. You know, Ford's like, hey, you guys are teammates, calm down. And that didn't work. So they're beating each other up on the, infield at a NASCAR race or whatever. That was awesome. I mean,
right. Well, I mean, you think about the good old video of Kye Yarborough and oh my gosh, dang, I knew I was going to forget his name. In like 1979 or 78, I think it was the Daytona 500. They were going door to door. No, it wasn't Waltrip. It was dang it, man, I can't remember his
Junior
name.
Johnson, I thought.
Junior Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah, they were going head to head in those big like 77 Cutlasses and they were. It was 2 or 3 laps of them just beating the hell out of each other on the racetrack, and it finally came to a head, and they both crashed, went off the track, and what do? Get out and start fist fighting. Like
that was at Talladega, I think.
It was a Talladega. It wasn't Daytona. That's right. It was a Talladega. And here's the thing. Like even in football now, if you're watching a football game and there's a fight that breaks out, the camera goes away from it. Show the passion, for freak's sake. I mean, that's the whole point of this, right? These guys are racing for money. They're racing for clout. There's a lot on the line to them. Maybe not in your world, but to them there is. And when something goes wrong like that, people want to see that kind of passion. People want to see that kind of stuff. It keeps them intrigued. And then now the next time that those two are at the next racetrack, people are like, dude, I could see this one because, Kye Yarborough is going to pay him back for what he did to him at the last race. And they might be tuning in for the wrong reasons, but they're tuning in and they're supporting the sport. There's none of that. It's detached. I mean, shit. The minute they took the clutch out of a pro mod, I mean, to me, that's when professional racing shit the bed, in my professional opinion.
It's funny you say that because there are a lot of people that agree with you. But I'll tell you what, I just was looking this up to look up the Kye Yarborough and Junior Johnson one. Kye Yarborough was like a pretty boy.
Yeah.
He didn't look rough and tumble like a bunch of these guys. But if you look up Kye Yarborough fight, there's a jillion of them. Dude, him and Donnie Allison in Daytona 1979. He fought everybody. Junior Johnson and Kye at multiple races. Oh my God, it's great. And then there's interviews with the two of them, like totally fine,
Yeah. Yeah. And then you sprinkle a little Dale Earnhardt in there,
I mean,
come on. Like, I mean, that, but it may be, we're at the point, we may be in an impasse where the sport is different because of the way the people that came behind that raised their children. They raised them to be different. They raised them to not be that passionate about things. That could just be a product of how we have evolved as humans, but I'm I mean, hell, even the tailgate throwdown, we've got 4 rivalries going on that they want to settle the score when they go back. And I'm hoping it grows because I'm excited about it. I'm like, yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Yes. And we'll be egging them on. Like absolutely. I will bring my little sprinkler of gasoline to pour on that fire. Like, hello.
One of them, Thomas Higgins of the Moonshiner truck, he put these digital boards at the top of his windshield. They have eyebrows in it, and they're like menacing. They're red, and his truck's all blacked out. Yeah, and they're looking left and right. You saw them, right, when we were out there. Like, oh no, you weren't out there that night. But anyway,
I know him. Yeah,
yeah. He made a post today with those eyeballs just on the top of his truck, and then one of the screens turned off, and it says, "Your LS."
Nice,
right? And the guy who won, he's specifically talking to the guy that beat him in the finals that has the freak show truck because it's LS powered, and he told me, he said, I'm going to post every other day something to rile him up, and I'm going to get him so riled up that I want him first off the trailer Friday night.
Yeah.
I'm like, do it, because he's an underdog.
Right.
Like, Thomas is an underdog. That truck, the freak show truck, makes 2,800 horsepower. Now, it can't apply it on that track, but it makes 2,800 horsepower. Thomas's truck is a 13, 14 to 1, 496 on 2 kits. Yeah. And he's outgunned, but he only got beat by a truck. He only got beat by a truck last time.
Right. See,
So
anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Anything.
And I remember, the other part is like everybody's stopped people wanting to be disrespectful. And yet, look at where we are in the country today, and people are more hateful and horrible than ever before because I think part of it is because we're not letting off steam by talking smack about our drag racers or whatever. Like WJ got hated on so bad because he referred to Top Fuel cars as horizontal oil derricks, right? And because all they did was oil the racetrack down back then. And here was the thing. They NHRA didn't like it. All the Top Fuel guys didn't like it, all those things. NHRA was like, oh, you can't say those kinds of things. And then immediately NHRA came out and made penalties for oiling down the racetrack because it was actually a problem. Well, you know what? That rivalry there was a pro stock guy versus the whole class of Top Fuel. That's cool too, So let them talk smack. I think if you can be respectful and not be, over the top is over the top. We all know what it is. When you talk smack and have fun, do some side bets, whatever, that's cool. I think that's a good deal. And we want burn downs. I want staging duels. That's what we want.
Phrase of the day.
You want to watch good drag racing? Watch the Southeast Gasser Association.
Oh yeah,
amazing.
100%.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's old school, dry hops, everything else. I mean, that's they put on an excellent show. Shout out to Scott's Rods.
I wish they traveled with that show instead of staying in North Carolina, so I didn't have to drive 3.5 light years.
They're in several racetracks now, but not this far over. Yeah,
I know.
No, they used to go to the Midwest and stuff and do a couple events there. There used to be a meltdown thing up there that they do. But I agree with you, Chad. I mean, bring back the personalities, bring back the burn downs, bring back the dry hops. I mean, what's a John Force burnout? Nobody knows anymore because they all look the same. I mean, it's not 330 anymore. I mean, it's literally, he may roll to the 330, but the burnout's 100 feet. And that's what it was famous for.
I understand why the burnout is shorter now. Okay, they don't actually need to smoke the tires. They just need to clean them off a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. We all know those things. I mean, don't anybody decide, oh, Chad, I need to learn you. No, you don't. I get it. It's all right. But just because it's not necessary doesn't mean you shouldn't still do it, right? I know that every drag racer on the planet will tell you that one of, if not their favorite thing to do in their car is burnouts. So, burnouts are awesome, right? So let's do burnouts. When I cars always had to have more fuel in them because he did such long burnouts.
Yeah. I mean, when I raced Top Dragster, the funnest part about the whole run was doing the burnout. I mean,
right?
Because the car doesn't wheelie, so it's like I mean, now the funnest part is my car wheelies. So, I mean.
Listen, in the grudge world, you always know it's a big muddy race when one car pulls up there, bangs it a couple times, and then unloads the tires, and then the other guy waits for him to do it, and he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna do it longer," and then it just and they got the guy opening the doors up and fanning them out, and fluffing them up and hyping the whole thing. I just love it. That's why I love grudge racing. It's the best thing on the planet. I have to have it. It's like a soap opera for me.
Well,
no, I'd say
probably but even grudge racing has gotten to be a little mellow.
It has.
The generic, I shouldn't say that. The still hardcore real deal stuff is, but now there's grudge racing happening at events that's really not as not as organic as it used to be, let's say. No. So here's the schedule for Sega, for the Southeast Gassers Association. I'm going to put it up on the screen right here. So South Georgia, Shady Side, Alabama, Holiday Raceway, and Mooresville. These are their events so far that they've announced for
25
for 2025. There are more coming, but those are the ones they've done. Holiday Raceway in Alabama. That's not as far away as North Carolina, boys. Maybe we need to road trip and go to.
Dude, I want to bad.
So
I'm
it's
down
April.
I mean, they
25th
put on a
and
hell of a
26th.
show. They put on a hell of a show.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to that, we're going to Shady Side because I've always wanted to go to Shady Side. It's kind of a bucket.
Okay. Well, that's
place.
fine. I'm down with that.
March meets on my bucket list because I want to see fuel altereds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the March meet, you know, I mean, I live streamed that race for years and years and years. I'd really love to be able to go back and do that one again. We'll have to see, but that event, I haven't been in a few years. I'm told that it's a little more mellow than it used to be, but still, it's a really epic race. Monty Fitzgerald is in the chat. Monty spent a lot of March meets back in the day, and we used to hang out. I remember one particularly rainy day. It was pouring rain. We were live streaming from the Chris Alston's Chassis Works tent or their canopy on their big rig there, and me and Monty were laughing and having some fun. That's a long time ago, dude. That makes
hanging out
old.
with Mr. Big.
Yeah, and the March meet though is cool. Fuel altereds are fun. Fuel altereds are a great time. They are, and they run them on an index, quote unquote, now to keep, to keep the field competitive so that you don't have like three rich guys that go out there and ruin it.
So the War Wizard doesn't come out there and keep resetting.
Yeah, there's a let me look it up here. Dar would know. So there's a index, dude. It is, I don't know where it's like at you guys, but it is tons of thunder and lightning right now at my house.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
No, I got nothing.
Oh yeah, big time. Otis is freaking out. He is not a happy camper. So let's see.
Oh yeah.
I don't. Oh yeah, 6 flat is the index in the quarter. So it's 6 flat is the index in the quarter, and they've got dozens of fuel altereds that show up now. Like it's in the 20s, like 20 something fuel altereds that show up for that, and several of them are the original. Like are legit OG fuel altereds. There's some that are funny cars with no bodies and a altered body on them or whatever, but like Pure Hell and all of those are still there. The Winged Express, all those things are
those
awesome.
are OGs.
Yeah, way OG. Yep.
I'm sure it's not the same chassis from the back in the day, but I mean,
no,
still,
but it looks exactly the same as then. Yeah. Monty says he got kicked off the starting line last year because he was trying to get bets going. That's at the March meet.
I wonder if Shane Ferris and his dad still do it. I know they had swapped to like a funny car chassis or a funny car. Yeah, I think they have one that they can alter back and forth from funny car to
yeah, it's not hard to do that. Yeah. Let's see. Aaron, you're right. Burnouts are the best part, but seeing over the scoreboard when you wheelie in Super Street is way funner. That is, dude, David is right. David Phillips, one of the twins at Vegas, his Camaro is cool and it does carry the wheels, and wheel stands are awesome. In my world, I want both. I want big burnouts and wheel stands.
Oh, yeah.
So
and bring back drag racing against wheel standards. Can we please already?
Dude,
jeez.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Man.
Yep. Absolutely. Oh, anyway. So much cool stuff.
I digress.
All right, boys. So we're at an hour and a half. Let's start wrapping this one up. There's a couple of things we did not get to talk about today that we're going to roll to the next episode. You saw on the featured image, the thumbnail, it said the Ultimate Streetcar Drag and Drive. It's a thing that Aaron brought up and I've been talking about for years, so it's a really good one. And we'll touch on that next time. But Stick Week is rolling. Oh, dude, I have 2 Aarons now. Look at that.
Yeah, I gotta get rid of
one.
That's all good. The big deal right now, Sick Week is going on this week. I will tell you, I only went on the very first Sick Week. I haven't been on any of the others. But Sick Week makes me laugh because it was, put together, going to be in Florida because the weather was going to be great and all these things. And the weather sucks every year. It poured rain the other day in South Georgia. This year it's starting in South Georgia, making a loop. It was pouring rain in South Georgia. They've also had all this snow and all the other things that hit Florida and Georgia and the Carolinas and everything. So that was an absolute shit show. And then guys crashing and other things made it so that the day one racing was also a challenge. Everybody got one hit. That was it. Yeah. One pass down the racetrack. That makes it tough. I mean, that makes it really tough. If you're one of the really fast cars, you need to be able to get down the track. And that is a tough thing. So after day one, Cletus had blown up his El Camino already, not mullet. They was doing a whole other thing, like a $7,000 race.
75, yeah, $7,500.
Oh, 7,500. There you go. And some other stuff. So he blew his junk up. There were, like I said, crashes and all kinds of things. I got to tell you, I know they only got one pass, but the guys in the Barracuda that crashed it, the Cuda, man, that would have pissed me off if I was there. I would have been MFing that guy up and down and all around because that car was out of shape and losing parts at the hit, was up against the center line the whole time, him steering it. Like, dude, put half a flat in that bitch. I mean, what the hell, dude? Put some rear steer in that thing. It's not right. And he was fighting it the whole way, and it goes through the finish line and hurts itself, and then proceeds to go all the way across and bash the wall and all the things. And I feel bad because the car looks like it was a beautiful car. And I don't want anybody to get hurt, and I don't want people crashing. But God, when they already had all these challenges, man, I would have been pissed if I was behind him going, because it wasn't just him, but all of the things that happened, keeping people from getting to make extra runs or more runs, would piss me off for sure.
Yeah. So, dude. Yeah. You gotta know when to lift, man. You gotta know when to lift.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, what does it matter if you abort a run and have to wait 3 hours to run again after you make some changes?
Right.
The other choice is go home and completely rebuild all your shit because you screwed it all up.
Right. I'm with you. Yeah, because I got to tell you, like, I don't mean to sound like a quitter because I've done, more drag and drives than just about anybody. But the reality is if you're in a scenario like that and you made a really crappy run on day one, man, you really got to look at it and go, is it worth spending all the rest of this money? Or should we just, while we're still here, pack it up and go home, and go to another drag and drive? It isn't like it used to be where it was drag week only or drag week and Rocky Mountain only. Now there's a jillion of them. So it's not like you can't get another one to go.
Before, wasn't fastest street car in America before drag week?
Oh yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
I have the old videos. They're still on VHS. But I have the old videos. And I mean, Tony Christian and all that stuff.
That summer. Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. All of it.
I think that we need to bring back fastest street car in America, but it's got to be a street car. And this is what I told you in the text.
Yeah.
It needs to be a drag. I think it needs to be an autocross and some other event, whether it's a roll race or whatever else. It needs to be a combination of the three, and you get points for each one. That's what I think is the next step in quote drag and drive type events is that, you have a tailgate class, you have, you assign equal points for each category. So basically you got to have a car that's kind of balanced between all three.
Yep.
And so it can't be just an all out drag car.
Right.
All out drag car ain't going to corner with the shit.
Right.
And it might cater to late models. It might, but at the same time, I think that's the next iteration that needs to happen.
Absolutely. And that's a teaser, folks, because we're going to get into detail on that in the next show in 2 weeks, because that is all of this happens. It just doesn't happen together the way you're talking about, Aaron. And we've had conversations about this in the past. And I agree with you. I think there's cool possibilities there for sure. But everybody, if you're at home watching, like I said, check out bangshift.com if you want to enter for the Louisiana Dragon Drive Hot Lap Challenge. Don't forget the Tailgate Throwdown is coming up March, let's say it again, 28th and 29th, right? Yep. Yeah, March 28th and 29th. That's going to be at Newport Raceway in Arkansas. Cool little racetrack. Second event. It's going to be awesome. It was a great one last year and everybody had a good time. So definitely looking forward to that. And if you need your rear end done, Texas Precision Performance has got you handled. Dude, Aaron, let me tell you, all the conversations at MPMC last week, I have a bunch of stuff. At some point, like, I'm just going to show up with the dually and like a stack of rear ends on the back of it. And I'm just going to show up and we're going to, with like a bunch of barbecue and beer, and we're going to have to like have a rear end party. And it's going to take 2 days to put these all together. I'm telling you. But eat
your Wheaties, Aaron.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to not be good.
It is what it is. I mean, we can get it done.
Oh yeah. All right, boys. Well, I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. You know how much I appreciate you guys and love you guys, and everybody that tuned in tonight. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All of you guys. Doug DeLay, I saw your message. Shoot me a text tomorrow afternoon and we'll get on the phone and figure out whatever questions you got. Again, everybody else that joined us, thank you so much. Also want to thank Derek and Missy and the entire group over at Lamb Components for always being a supporter as well. And I got to tell you, folks, there's a bunch of cool new stuff coming for this year. Like I said, a bunch of cool meetings. Aaron and I have been working on a list. Aaron's got a list of guests he wants to have. I know Ryan has a list of guests as well. I've got one, and here in the next few weeks, we're going to have to put those all into one list and start scheduling some people. But there are a bunch of cool cats that want to be on the show this year. So I think it'll be fun to get a guest or two on as well and see what they have to say. But I think it's going to be a good time for sure. So I hope everybody's 2025 is going well so far, and we'll see what we can do. We'll be back in 2 weeks, which puts us at... Hold on here, the old calendar out. So that's going to be the 12th of February. So, that'll be the Valentine's Day edition of the show.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Nice. I'll put
Love is in the air.
Hallmark holidays. Love it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I love it.
My wife's going to be out of town, so it's going to be great. Love is in the air.
Love it.
God, that's awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys for sure. Again, thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next time. We appreciate all you guys joining us. It's always fun. We'll see you.
Check you later.
Bye.